Admiral James Foster stood at the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, his gray eyes fixed on the massive holographic display before him. 3 unknown vessels had just emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their designs completely foreign to any human records. But that wasn't entirely true. He knew exactly what they were. Imperial scout ships, he said quietly, more to himself than to the tense crew around him. Right on schedule. The command center hummed with controlled energy as dozens of officers monitored their stations. No one showed panic or fear. They had trained for this moment for 15 years. "Sir, the vessels are approaching Jupiter's orbit," reported Lieutenant Emma Parker from her station. "Their energy signatures match our intelligence exactly." Foster nodded, allowing himself a small smile. The Galactic Empire thought they were being clever, sending first contact scouts to assess Earth's capabilities. They had no idea that humanity had been watching them for decades, studying their every move through hidden quantum observation posts scattered throughout nearby star systems. "Time to show them what a primitive species can do," Foster said. "Activate the Moonshade Protocol." Throughout the solar system, hidden defense platforms silently powered up. The Empire's ships continued their approach, completely unaware that they were already caught in humanity's web. "They're scanning us, sir," announced Captain Robert Torres. "Standard Imperial first contact protocols. They're probably expecting to find pre-space flight civilization. Let's disappoint them, shall we?" Foster straightened his uniform. "Execute containment sequence." In the space between Mars and Jupiter, invisible quantum fields suddenly sprang to life. The Imperial ships found themselves trapped inside bubbles of altered spacetime, their engines still running but making no progress forward. "Imperial vessels are attempting to engage their emergency drives," Torres reported with a hint of amusement. "Their power output is increasing, now at 200% normal capacity." Foster watched as the alien ships struggled like flies in honey. Earth's quantum containment fields weren't just holding them. They were doing it so efficiently that the Empire's sensors couldn't even detect what was stopping them. "Send the message," Foster ordered. "Audio only, universal translator engaged." Dr. Anna Martinez, Earth's lead xenolinguist, stepped forward and nodded to indicate the channel was open. The message they had carefully crafted was broadcast in perfect Imperial standard. "Attention Imperial scout vessels. You have entered restricted space. The Sol system is a sovereign territory. Your presence here has been anticipated and your capabilities are known to us. You will power down your engines and prepare to be escorted to a designated holding area. Any hostile action will be met with immediate defensive measures." The response was immediate, a burst of confused Imperial communications between the 3 ships. Foster could imagine their shock. Instead of finding an easy target for integration into their empire, they had run straight into a civilization that could stop their ships with technology they couldn't even detect. "Sir, they're charging weapons," Torres announced calmly. "As expected," Foster replied. "Initiate power drain." The quantum fields shifted frequency. Within seconds, the Imperial ship's energy levels began dropping rapidly as their power was safely siphoned away. Their weapons never had a chance to fire. "Imperial vessels now at minimal life support levels," Torres confirmed. "They're completely disabled." Foster stepped forward, his reflection ghosting across the holographic display. "Send the second message." Dr. Martinez opened the channel again, and Foster spoke directly this time. "Imperial vessels, your ships have been disabled without harm to your crews. This demonstration was a courtesy. The Sol system is off-limits to the Galactic Empire. You will be provided with minimal power to return to Imperial space with this message. Earth knows who and what you are. We have chosen isolation not out of weakness, but strength. Do not test us again." As the disabled ships hung helpless in space, Foster turned to his crew. "And so it begins. Humanity's first official contact with the Empire, on our terms, not theirs." He smiled at the pride evident on every face in the command center. Send word to the Council. Phase 1 is complete. The crew cheered quietly as Foster watched the Imperial ships on the display. The Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson. Sometimes the civilizations that choose to stay apart are the ones you should fear most. 3 days after the scout ship incident, a much larger vessel appeared at the edge of the solar system. The Imperial diplomatic ship, Star Crown, was impossible to miss. It was painted in the bright gold and white colors of the Empire's royal fleet and was nearly the size of a small city. Dr. Maria Reynolds watched it approach through the windows of Earth's orbital diplomatic station. Unlike the military precision of Defense Station Alpha, this place was designed to impress with its blend of beauty and power. The walls seemed to be made of flowing water, an effect created by quantum field manipulation that no Imperial scientist had ever managed to achieve. "They're right on time," she said to her assistant, Tom Baker. "The Empire always sends their diplomats exactly 72 hours after a first contact incident. They hate changing their routines." The Imperial ship stopped at the designated coordinates, far enough from Earth to show respect, but close enough to make their size obvious. It was meant to be intimidating. Dr. Reynolds smiled, knowing what was about to happen. "Begin the scan," she ordered. Hidden sensors throughout the solar system activated, mapping every detail of the Imperial vessel. Within minutes, holographic displays showed the ship's crew complement, weapon systems, and even the contents of their diplomatic databanks. "Would you look at that?" Tom said, pointing to one of the readings. They brought their entire first contact protocol library with them. 12,000 years of procedures for dealing with primitive species. 12,000 years of doing the same thing over and over, Maria corrected him. "That's why they're going to lose this encounter before it even begins." The main communication screen lit up. Lord Nexus, the Empire's senior diplomatic envoy, appeared. He was tall and thin, with the silvery skin typical of the Empire's ruling class. His expression was practiced, a perfect blend of authority and benevolence that had worked on countless other species. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," he began in flawless English. "I am Lord Nexus, voice of the Eternal Empire. We come in peace to discuss the unfortunate misunderstanding with our scout vessels." Maria stepped forward. "Welcome, Lord Nexus. I am Dr. Maria Reynolds, Earth's chief negotiator. There was no misunderstanding. Your scouts entered restricted space and were dealt with accordingly." Lord Nexus' practiced smile flickered slightly. "My dear doctor, there seems to be some confusion. The Empire has been guiding younger species into galactic civilization for over 12 millennia. We have protocols." "Yes, we know all about your protocols," Maria interrupted, touching a control panel. The station's walls suddenly filled with holographic text, thousands of pages of Imperial documents, including the classified sections about how you deliberately slow down technological development in species you guide. The diplomat's silver face went pale. "How did you? Those are sealed Imperial records. We've had stealth observation posts in Imperial space for 20 years, Lord Nexus. We know everything, your technology, your tactics, your true intentions. Earth chose isolation because we saw what you do to the species you claim to help." Maria touched another control, and new images appeared. Detailed maps of Imperial space, military installations, and trade routes that even most Imperial citizens didn't know about. "Impossible," Lord Nexus whispered. "Your species was supposed to be pre-spaceflight. Our surveys showed." "Your surveys showed what we wanted them to show," Maria said firmly. "Now let's discuss the real reason you're here. You want to know how we develop technology that can neutralize Imperial ships. You want to know why your sensors can't penetrate our defenses. You want to know why we aren't afraid of the Empire." She leaned forward, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's united determination. "But those aren't the questions you should be asking. Instead, ask yourself this. If we could hide our true capabilities from you for decades, if we could map your entire empire without detection, if we could disable your ships without harming them, what else can we do?" Lord Nexus stood silent for a long moment, his diplomatic training failing him completely. Finally, he asked, "What do you want?" "It's very simple," Maria replied. "We want you to leave. The Sol system is now officially off-limits to the Empire. No ships, no probes, no surveillance. We will enforce this ban with whatever means necessary. The Empire does not recognize independent systems," Lord Nexus said automatically, falling back on protocol. Maria smiled. "You're about to start. Because if you don't, we'll show you exactly why Earth chose to stay hidden all these years. And trust me, Lord Nexus, you don't want that demonstration." The underground research facility, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, was Earth's best-kept secret. Dr. Alice Wright walked through its massive main laboratory, where hundreds of scientists worked on projects that would have seemed like magic to the rest of the galaxy. Today was special. They were hosting their first Imperial visitor. Lord Nexus had demanded to see proof of Earth's technological capabilities, and the World Council had agreed to show him just enough to make their point clear. "This way, please," Alice said to the Imperial diplomat, who was trying hard not to look impressed by the quantum computers that floated in midair around them. "What you're about to see is why we chose to develop our technology in isolation." They stopped at a large circular platform. Above it, a hologram showed the history of Earth's first contact with Imperial technology. It had happened 30 years ago, when a damaged Imperial probe crashed in the Australian outback. "We found your probe before your recovery teams arrived," Alice explained. "But instead of trying to copy your technology, we studied it and chose a different path. You see, Lord Nexus, your Empire's technology all follows the same basic principles. You've been building on the same foundation for thousands of years." Lord Nexus straightened his tall frame. "Our technology is the most advanced in the known galaxy. We have perfected." "You've perfected one way of doing things," Alice interrupted. "But there are always other ways." She waved her hand, and the hologram changed to show Earth's divergent technological development. "While you focused on plasma drives, we developed quantum field engines. While you improved your crystal computers, we created thinking machines that exist in multiple dimensions at once." The Imperial diplomat's silver skin paled as he watched the display. "But our surveys, our probes showed no signs of this advancement." Dr. Wright smiled. "Of course they didn't. 25 years ago, Earth's nations united with one purpose: to protect our independence. We developed technology specifically designed to hide from Imperial detection. We built our cities underground and underwater, created shields that made our space stations look like natural satellites, and launched observation posts that your sensors still can't detect." She led him to another section of the lab, where scientists were working with what looked like liquid light. "This is our quantum manipulation technology. It's why we can stop your ships without firing a shot. We don't push against them. We simply change the nature of space around them." "Impossible," Lord Nexus whispered. "Quantum manipulation on that scale would require a completely different approach to physics." Alice finished for him. "Exactly. Your Empire's technology is like a massive tree, impressive, strong, but all growing from the same roots. Earth's technology is like a forest, diverse, adaptable, with each development following its own path." She touched a control panel, and a small demonstration began. A miniature Imperial ship appeared in a contained field. With a gentle gesture, Alice created a quantum barrier around it. The ship's engines flared but couldn't move. "We developed all this because we saw what the Empire does to other species," she continued. "You give them your technology, your guidance, but always keep them dependent. Always make sure they develop along the paths you can control." Lord Nexus watched the demonstration with a mix of fear and fascination. "If you have all this power, why reveal it now? Why not join the Empire and share your advancements?" Alice's expression turned serious. "Because freedom to choose our own path is more important than power. We're showing you this so you understand one simple truth. Earth doesn't need the Empire's guidance. We never did." She waved her hand again, and the demonstration expanded to show Earth's defense network, a complex web of quantum fields, hidden stations, and technological achievements that the Empire had never dreamed possible. Your Empire has spent 12,000 years teaching other species to follow your path, Alice said quietly. We chose to find our own way. And now we're going to make sure others have that same choice. Lord Nexus stared at the display, finally understanding the truth. Earth hadn't isolated itself out of weakness or fear. They had used their isolation to grow stronger than the Empire could imagine. And now, they were ready to show the galaxy that there was more than one path to the stars. Admiral James Foster knew the Empire wouldn't accept defeat easily. When the massive Imperial fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system 1 week after Lord Nexus's visit, he wasn't surprised. 500 warships, including 3 planet crackers, dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Right on time, Foster said from his command chair on Defense Station Alpha. The Empire always responds to challenges with overwhelming force. Always. Captain Torres pulled up the tactical display. Sir, they're spreading out to form a blockade pattern. Standard Imperial siege formation. Foster nodded calmly. Around him, the command crew worked with practiced efficiency, no one showing any sign of fear despite being massively outnumbered. Message from the Imperial flagship, Lieutenant Parker announced. Admiral Rex of the Imperial First Fleet demands our immediate surrender and full integration into the Empire, or they will demonstrate their superior firepower. Send them our response, Foster ordered, just like we planned. The message was simple. No. The Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect unison, their gold and white ships gleaming in the starlight. They were beautiful, Foster had to admit, like a school of metallic fish swooning through space. They were also completely predictable. Glass wall protocol is ready, Torres reported. All quantum field generators are at full power. Foster leaned forward in his chair. Let them get a little closer. Let's make sure they're fully committed. The Imperial fleet continued its advance, spreading out to surround Earth's solar system in a 3-dimensional net of warships. Their confidence was clear in every movement. They had done this hundreds of times before, forcing primitive species to submit through sheer display of power. They're launching fighter squadrons, Parker reported. Over 10,000 small craft deploying. Perfect, Foster smiled. They're using every ship they have. Execute glass wall. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum generators activated. There was no visual effect, no dramatic energy field or glowing barrier. The Imperial fleet simply stopped. Quantum fields are holding, Torres confirmed. All Imperial ships are contained. The Imperial fleet's formation broke as ships tried to move in different directions. Nothing worked. Their engines flared uselessly against the quantum fields that had trapped them in bubbles of altered spacetime. They're trying to fire their weapons, Parker announced with a hint of amusement. Energy weapons are being absorbed by the quantum fields. Physical projectiles are stopping in mid-flight. Foster stood up and straightened his uniform. Open a channel to Admiral Rex. The Imperial Admiral appeared on screen, his silver face twisted with rage and disbelief. What sorcery is this? Release our ships immediately. No sorcery, Admiral. Just science you chose not to explore, Foster replied calmly. Your fleet is now trapped in what we call the glass wall, a network of quantum fields that can selectively allow or deny passage through spacetime. You can't move, you can't fire weapons, and you can't escape. Impossible. No civilization has this level of technology. No civilization in your empire, you mean, Foster corrected him, because you never let them develop on their own. Earth chose a different path. And now you're seeing the result. He nodded to Torres, who activated another set of controls. Throughout the Imperial fleet, ship after ship lost power, their lights flickering out as Earth's defensive system drained their energy. We're leaving you enough power for life support and a single faster-than-light jump, Foster explained. Use it to return to Imperial space. If you try to return with another fleet, we'll do this again. And next time, we might not be so gentle." Admiral Rex's face was a mask of fury and fear. "The Empire will not forget this insult." "Good," Foster replied. "We want you to remember. Remember that Earth chose isolation not because we had to, but because we wanted to. Remember that we can enforce that choice. And most importantly, remember that there are paths to the stars that don't run through your empire." As the Imperial ships slowly regained minimal power and began their retreat, Foster turned to his crew. "Send word to the Council. The Empire just learned that their way isn't the only way. Now we wait to see what they do with that lesson." Dr. Maria Reynolds sat in her private office aboard Earth's diplomatic station, studying data that could change the galaxy forever. The holographic displays around her showed thousands of Imperial documents, all secretly collected by Earth's hidden observation posts over the past 20 years. "Tom, look at this," she called to her assistant. "These aren't just guidelines for controlling other species. This is a systematic plan that goes back thousands of years." Tom Baker moved closer to examine the document she had highlighted. His eyes widened as he read. "They're deliberately sabotaging other civilizations' development." "Worse," Maria said, pulling up more files. "They're rewriting history. Every species they help gets the same story, that they were primitive until the Empire found them. But look at these original surveys." The documents showed the truth. Many species had been on the verge of their own technological breakthroughs when the Empire arrived. Some had even developed technologies that worked differently from Imperial standards. But in every case, the Empire had stepped in, offering their superior technology and carefully erasing any trace of independent development. "Computer, show me the patterns," Maria ordered. The AI compiled the data, creating a timeline of Imperial expansion. It was devastating. Species after species had their unique scientific progress halted, their alternative technologies replaced with Imperial standards, their histories rewritten to show dependence on the Empire. "They're not building an empire," Maria realized. "They're building a prison of technology and knowledge that they control completely." A message alert flashed on her screen. It was from one of Earth's deep-cover observation posts near the Imperial capital. Maria opened it and gasped. "The Empire is already trying to cover up their defeat at Earth," she told Tom. "They're telling their member species that we're dangerous savages who got lucky with stolen technology. They're using our isolation against us." Tom frowned. "But we have proof that they're lying. We have all these documents." "Exactly," Maria smiled suddenly. "And we have something else they don't expect. We have their own communication network mapped completely." She stood up and walked to the main control panel. The Empire built their entire civilization on controlled information. Every species they absorb has to use Imperial communication channels, Imperial computers, Imperial protocols. They think it keeps everyone dependent on them. Her fingers flew over the controls as she worked. "But we studied their network for 20 years without them knowing. We can send any message we want to every species in the Empire, and they can't stop us." "You're going to tell everyone the truth?" Tom asked. "I'm going to let them see the truth for themselves," Maria corrected him. She activated Earth's quantum communication system, a technology the Empire couldn't detect or block. "To all species of the so-called Eternal Empire," she began recording. "This is Earth. We are the planet that recently declared ourselves off-limits to Imperial control. The Empire is already spreading lies about us, but we offer you something they never have: proof." She attached carefully selected documents to the message. Evidence of the Empire's systematic suppression of independent development, proof of their historical revisionism, and most importantly, technical data showing how Earth had developed its own technology without Imperial interference. "We chose isolation because we saw what the Empire does to those it claims to help," she continued. "They don't guide species to the stars. They chain them to a single path, their path. But there are other ways to advance, other technologies to discover, other paths to the future." Earth is proof of that. As she finished the message, Tom looked worried. The Empire will be furious when this gets out. Maria nodded. Yes, they will. But for the first time in 12,000 years, they won't be able to simply erase the truth. Every species in the Empire is about to learn that there's an alternative to Imperial guidance. And that's what the Empire fears most. Not our technology, not our defenses, but the idea that their way isn't the only way. She pressed the final control, and the message began transmitting through the quantum network. The Empire built their power on controlled information, she said quietly. Let's see how they handle the truth. The World Council chamber in Geneva was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. Above them, massive screens showed live feeds from across the galaxy. Hundreds of alien worlds in turmoil after receiving Earth's revelation about the Empire's true nature. Admiral Foster and Dr. Reynolds stood before the Council, watching as reports came in from Earth's hidden observation posts. The Empire was struggling to contain the spreading unrest as species after species began questioning their guardians. The Empire has lost control of their information network, Maria reported to the Council. They can't stop the truth from spreading now. 3 systems have already declared their independence, using our quantum field technology to protect themselves. Council President David Anderson leaned forward in his chair. And how has the Empire responded to these declarations? Exactly as we expected, Foster replied. They've sent fleets to crush the rebellion. But thanks to the defensive technology we shared, their ships are useless. They're facing the same quantum fields that stopped them here. The main screen showed an Imperial warship floating helplessly near a newly independent world, its weapons and engines neutralized by the same technology that protected Earth. It's time for the next step, Maria said firmly. We need to make our position official, not just for ourselves, but for every species that wants to break free from Imperial control. President Anderson nodded and stood up. The chamber fell silent as he activated the global broadcast system. This message would go out not just to Earth, but to every corner of the galaxy through Earth's quantum network. People of Earth and all free species of the galaxy, he began. Today, we formally declare the entire Sol system as a no Imperial access zone. No Imperial ships, probes, or transmissions will be permitted within our boundaries. Any attempt to violate this zone will be met with immediate defensive action. The screens showed reactions from across the galaxy, crowds gathering on dozens of worlds, watching Earth's declaration with hope and fear. But we go further than this, Anderson continued. Earth extends its protection to any species that wishes to break free from Imperial control. We offer our quantum field technology and our support to any civilization that chooses independence over submission. In the Imperial capital, alarms were blaring. Their carefully controlled galaxy was slipping through their fingers. Maria watched with satisfaction as more reports of rebellion came in. We have seen the Empire's true face. Anderson's voice rang out. For 12,000 years, they have suppressed progress, stifled innovation, and forced countless species to abandon their own paths to the stars. Today, that ends. Foster's tablet lit up with tactical alerts. The Empire was mobilizing its entire fleet, thousands of warships preparing for war. But his expression remained calm. They had planned for this. To the Empire, we say this. Your time of unchallenged dominion is over. Earth stands ready to defend itself and others who choose freedom. Your ships cannot breach our defenses. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your lies cannot fool us anymore. The council chamber erupted in applause. On screens across the galaxy, alien crowds were cheering. The Empire's perfect order was crumbling in the face of a simple truth. There were other ways to reach the stars. And to all species watching, Anderson concluded, we offer not control, not guidance, but choice. Earth will share its knowledge freely, but we will never force our path on others. Each civilization must find its own way to the future. That is the fundamental right we defend today. As the transmission ended, Maria turned to Foster. The Empire won't accept this. They'll throw everything they have at us." Foster smiled. "Let them come. Earth's isolation taught us something they never learned. There are as many paths to the stars as there are species to imagine them. And now, finally, everyone knows it." Outside the council chamber, Earth's defense networks hummed with power, ready to protect not just humanity, but the idea that had shaken the Empire to its core. The idea that true civilization grows from freedom, not control. 1 year after Earth's declaration, the galaxy had changed more than anyone could have imagined. Admiral Foster and Dr. Reynolds stood in Earth's new Galactic Observation Center, watching the massive display that showed the transformed political landscape of known space. "Another system declared independence yesterday," Maria said, pointing to a glowing point on the map. "That makes 47 worlds that have broken free from the Empire in the past year." Foster nodded, studying the patterns of free systems spreading across the galaxy like stars appearing at twilight. "And the Empire hasn't been able to stop a single one. Our quantum field technology made sure of that." The center buzzed with activity as staff monitored communications and events across thousands of light years. Earth had become known throughout the galaxy as the Forbidden System, not because it was dangerous or hostile, but because it had done the impossible. It had said no to the Empire and made it stick. "Message coming in from the Imperial capital," announced Tom Baker from his station. "They're finally ready to negotiate." Maria smiled. After 3 failed invasion attempts and nearly half their member worlds declaring independence, "I should think so." The main screen lit up, showing not just Lord Nexus this time, but the entire Imperial Council. Their silver faces were grim as they faced the humans who had shattered their power. Earth, the Imperial High Chancellor, spoke first. "We request terms for peace." "The terms are simple," Maria replied. "The Empire will recognize the right of any species to choose independence. You will acknowledge that your way is not the only path to the stars. And you will never again force your technology or your control on unwilling worlds." The Imperial leaders struggled visibly with these demands. 12,000 years of absolute control were hard to let go. "And what of the systems that wish to remain part of the Empire?" one counselor asked. "That is their choice," Foster answered. "Earth doesn't seek to destroy the Empire, only to end its monopoly on civilization. Any species that freely chooses to stay with you may do so." On other screens around the room, representatives from dozens of newly independent worlds watched the negotiations. Some had developed their own variations of Earth's quantum technology. Others had recovered their ancient scientific knowledge that the Empire had suppressed. Each was finding its own unique path forward. "Very well," the High Chancellor said finally. "The Empire accepts these terms. The era of mandatory integration is over." As the transmission ended, cheers erupted from watching worlds across the galaxy. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They had forced the mighty Empire to change its ways not through superior firepower, but through the power of choice. "Look at this," Maria said softly, bringing up new data on the main display. It showed scientific breakthroughs happening on various worlds. New technologies that didn't follow imperial standards, new ways of thinking that had been suppressed for millennia. "Free worlds are already sharing discoveries," Foster observed, "not copying each other, but learning from each other, growing together while staying unique." "That's what the Empire never understood," Maria replied. "True civilization isn't about following one path. It's about finding your own way while respecting others' right to do the same." Outside the observation center's windows, Earth's defense platforms glimmered in the sunlight. They were no longer just weapons or shields. They were symbols of a fundamental truth that had changed the galaxy. Sometimes the strongest civilizations are the ones that choose their own path. "What happens now?" Tom asked, looking at the transformed galactic map. "Now the real work begins," Maria answered. "Earth will keep its isolation. We've earned our privacy, but we'll also keep our promise to help others defend their independence. The galaxy is entering a new age, an age where every species is free to reach for the stars in their own way." Foster smiled as he watched ships from newly independent worlds passing through Earth's quantum gates, not to trade or integrate, but to learn and share while respecting each other's boundaries. The Empire wanted a galaxy united by control, he said. Instead, they got one united by choice. I'd say that's a fair trade. And so the galaxy entered a new era, with Earth standing as a reminder that true strength comes not from dominating others, but from having the courage to stand apart while helping others do the same. The Forbidden System had become a beacon of hope, proving that sometimes the best way to join the galactic community is to know when to stay apart from it.